There it is. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Cake this week. It's Ashkan here this time, doing a little cake section about networking. And in case this is your first time joining us today, Cake is all about just down and dirty, nice little hacks and tricks to make your business start up from nothing, and just kind of scrappy tips to get you along, and how to start without funding, and how to kind of basically go about your life enjoying what you do, and doing it in a way that is a little more in tune with how you want to live your life. And so we are here today to talk a little bit about networking, which you always hear about all the time. They always say that, like, networking is the most important thing, and it's not what you know, it's who you know, and all those little catchphrases that come in and out of all the sort of different networking presentations. And networking is definitely an interesting kind of aspect of business, because it's probably like the least business-like that you need to approach it with. Unlike a lot of other things where having a kind of like nice business education and thinking about the mechanics behind something really help. We've all been networking for a long time. It's just called interacting with human beings, and it's been happening since human beings have been around. So a lot of the key to good networking is actually just like things that are really intuitive to you and intuitive to like being a social person to begin with. When you look up advice on networking online and different websites and blogs, you're going to find a lot of advice. Some of it is decent, which a lot of it relates to the fact that we've been doing it for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Things like, being outgoing and meeting people and just getting people's contact information and stuff like that. There's a lot of bad advice out there too, unsurprisingly, which all the bad advice seems to boil down, in my mind, to anything that makes it not about being a human being and more about being a businessy type thing. As soon as you start going down that path, all of a sudden, like, all the advice starts to get really bad, which is most things where people are calling it, like, networking. And people who focus on things like sending real formal, like, introductory invitations out to people and introductions about yourself, and like using these different professional services to help network yourself, and going to specific like events meant for you to network with other people, and basically like anything that thinks about it like a business rather than like just pleasure is probably going to lead you back down the wrong path. Here at Cake, our definition of networking is to make friends, and then to realize how surprisingly useful your friends are, or to realize that you need to make new friends. So, going into more of the specifics and the kind of breakdown of some good ways to network, first we'll talk about where to meet people, because that's always kind of where you have to start. A great place to start is just your friends. I mean, you already have a network, like you already know people, hopefully you're not just a hermit, otherwise networking is going to be real hard for you. But you have friends, you have family, you have people who have been in your life already for a long time, and those are like really good people to start with. Talk to them and see, what their deal is and like what kind of skills they have, and they're going to be the ones who are most willing to help you anyway, so it's a really great place to start out. And beyond that, your friends have friends, and so they're going to be happy to recommend other people to you, so you can reach out and kind of go out there, just straight through the business you know, or the people that you know, and have it be much more of a natural process. Beyond that, just go to events and things that you love to do. Go around to whatever tickles your fancy, or even if it has absolutely nothing to do with your business. If you just love to run marathons and like you go to marathons, you're going to meet a ton of people there who are just really interesting and are also doing a bunch of crazy things with their life that's also going to be really interesting. And you'll immediately have something to relate with them to. You can talk about the marathons, you can talk about what you're both doing there and something that you're passionate about, and you immediately have a way to connect with people, which is really useful. The really good way to make friends is basically to be a good conversationalist. A lot of it comes down to that, and there's a lot of stuff you can look up online too about that. But some basic advice on how to have a good conversation is just understanding that people love to talk about themselves. It's just built into us. We all just like could go on for hours and hours about like all the things that we enjoy doing and what's going on in our lives. So it's really great to take advantage of that. Ask people questions, and not questions like, how are you? Because those questions are just programmed in our brain to lead to answers like fine or like great. It's not really going to go anywhere. So try to delve into what people do and what their lives are. And most often, when you talk to someone who has something that they're doing that's interesting, they're going to be really passionate about it, and they're going to love talking about it. And the better questions you ask that can keep leading them into more and more answers, the better conversation you're going to have. And a good tactic I find for that is just to basically see if from the start to the end of the conversation that you're having with this person, you can get a full understanding of the field of work that they are involved in. And so just start from the basic, like, you don't know anything, and just keep asking a series of questions until you feel like you have a pretty good grasp on their industry. And often one of those questions just lead right into the other, because whatever they say is going to be like crazy jargon that you're not going to know, and you're going to have to ask about that. And that usually makes them realize that you're really interested in them and what they're saying. And they're obviously really interested in saying it because it's what they do with their life, and they're very passionate about it. And the more you continue that, the more you're just going to have like a really great conversation with someone, which leads to being their friend, which leads to, you know, when you need to ask that person for something in the future because you made a connection, like it's going to seem like you're approaching him as a friend. Because, you know, that's what you are, basically, at this point.
I find a really good lead-in tactic to that, too. Like, especially for that little starter question. Like, because follow-ups do follow easily from, like, an area of expertise kind of standpoint, not understanding. Is, like, get more specific. And just in general, like, pretty much the more specific you get with your question. So I've stopped asking people what they do, and I've started asking people, like, what they did earlier that day. Which always yields like a very specific like instance of whatever it is that they generally do usually, or they're on break from what they do and they've done something totally different, and that's also a conversation. But yeah, getting really specific, like
specific. I find even like asking people the best thing they did yesterday is a really good one because it's really hard to like digest your day and what's been happening. But usually by the next day, you kind of have like one thing that highlighted the previous day that like people are usually really happy to talk about. So Graham was saying specific questions is a really good way, and like more specific questions as you go down is a great way to just move the conversation along. And it turns out that like pretty much everyone you meet is going to be useful to you in a lot of ways. Our brains are always thinking about our businesses because, you know, we spend our lives doing them. We're crazy entrepreneurs and work 80 hours a week. And it's not often that you hear about someone doing something where you're immediately not like, oh, that'll definitely help my business. Like, I would love to have crazy fabrics all around my shop. Like, that sounds amazing. And so, you know, it's really rare that you meet someone where you're just like, that doesn't relate to me at all. Like, this person is of no help for me. So just being out there and meeting people is really helpful. And beyond just going to specific events, like, you can go to events that are related to things you're looking for. I mean, if you're trying to find a programmer, find like an awesome kind of programming event that's going on in town and go there and meet people. And like then at least you know that a bunch of people there are going to be related to the things that you're kind of interested in. And beyond that, literally just getting out of the house is an amazing tactic of meeting people. Like, just go to a bar, go anywhere. Like, you will end up talking to people and you will end up meeting people. And like, the more social you are, just the more people you meet. And a lot of it just kind of naturally like stems from there. After you go places to meet people, and after you have met people, the next thing you want to do is make a connection with them and actually get to the point where something useful happens with your relationship. And the most important thing to that is follow-up. Follow-up is really, really big, and it's something that a lot of people just let slip through the cracks. Because it's really easy to. Like, we just get really excited about something in the moment, and then something happens, and, you know, a bunch of other things are on our plate. So being really diligent about following up with people is super, super, super good in terms of, like, making a connection. To the point that you can even be a little, like, intense about it. Even make a schedule for yourself. You're like, okay, it's been 2 days since I went to that thing. Like, who are the people that I need to email? And, like make sure that I keep in touch with and follow up with. Make sure to grab other people's contact information because like then you don't have to rely on them getting back to you, which is most likely just not going to happen because like everyone's really bad at follow-up. And the sooner you get in touch with them, just the better, in my opinion. Even if it's just like 4 hours after you met them, you just send a quick email. It's like, oh, really great to meet you. Like, here's my contact information in your email in case you lose that card or whatever. Super great, and it seems to make you it makes you seem really enthusiastic, which is really great. And it makes the other person understand that, like, you're really committed and you're really kind of on top of your shit. And, like, that's a great thing to instill in them, too. Under 24 hours is just like something to always shoot for in terms of getting up in touch with someone. If they don't get back in touch with you, like, wait a couple weeks and figure out a reason to get back in touch with them.
Try a different method of contact.
Yeah, try a different method
Some
of contact.
People never check their Facebook. Some people never check their email.
Absolutely. Don't assume that just because they didn't get back to you means that they don't want to talk to you. And other than that, like, invite them out for non-business related things too. Don't just get back to them because like you need something from them. Like, ask them to come out for drinks. Ask them to come out and like get a sandwich with you, or invite them to like a gathering that you're having, or you're going out with a bunch of people to go bowling or whatever. Like, tell people to just come have fun with you, because really like what you're trying to do is make friends, and that's what you want to do, is have fun with them. And if it's someone that you don't want to like hang out with, regardless of business, then like it's probably not someone that you want to keep in your circle of connection anyway. It's really pointless to hold on to people for just purely like business reasons, and not because like you actually enjoy them as a person too. It's just going to become like really artificial. Another thing that really helps with making a connection with someone afterwards is being memorable yourself. Having a giant mustache helps a lot. It's not very often that I talk to someone and they don't remember who I was. So that's really good. Anything you can do. A photo, is that what you said? Having
a big red fro.
A big red fro, yeah, exactly. A photo, though, is really good. Some people put photos on their business cards. Associating someone's face is like a really easy way to remember them. So even just having your photo on your website in a really easy place to find is just really, really good for people being like, who is this person? Like, what is this random like business card of the 100 that are in my pocket?
We used that with Swipe Now when we had a meeting.
Yeah.
Like when we had to meet them.
It's very true. We had a meeting, Graham had a meeting with someone, he couldn't make it because he was stuck at the permit office. And so I went in his place, but I had no idea who this person was. And I went on his website, and there was a photo of him, and I was just really able to like easily find him in the coffee shop, and everything went perfectly smoothly from there, as opposed to me just sitting there having no idea, like just calling out this person's name and waiting for him to come. So yeah, photos of yourself are great. The most you can do to make yourself like easily identifiable and easily remembered afterwards is super, super helpful.
Yeah, and super, super big facial
yeah, and super big facial hair.
It's a legit business strategy.
There's one thing I'm trying to get across to you today. It's to have a big mustache. Once you do communicate with people, it's really important to offer your own help to them. It's not, it's a two-way street, obviously. Don't just, like, go around being like, oh, you need you to do this for me and this for me. Like, the best way to have someone do something for you is to first do something for them. Because, like, one, it's just nice and great, and, like, what a better world it would be if we were just helping each other. And two, like, then you help them out, and they know that. And they're going to be there for you when you need help in the future. So even if you have nothing in the immediate, like, future that you need their help for, just, like, say, hey, like, I've helped some guy run his little ice cream cart like 3 or 4 times, and I've asked nothing from him in return at this point, and just because it was really fun and I had a blast. And I'm sure in the future, like, I could totally call on him for help at any point, and like he would be way down. So offering your own help is just really, really great, and just a nice thing to do as well. In terms of the people that you are meeting, it's the same kind of like vanity metrics that goes into social media. It's not about just the biggest number you have. Like, knowing the most people ever is not necessarily productive if you don't really know any of them and have no real way of like having a meaningful connection with them. So it's much better to be acute rather than to have kind of a broad scope. Make one good connection in a week and kind of disregard the others that didn't seem to be that nice or that didn't seem to be that good of a connection or people you didn't relate to that well. And really focusing on meeting specific people and like improving your relationship with them is really going to lead to a more meaningful connection with that person than you would have had with like the 20 people you were all trying to pursue. And along the same line, don't feel like you need to waste time on people who don't interest you. If you're talking to someone and like you just really don't mesh with that person and you're just kind of like forcing it, like forget about it. There's no point. Like, you're just going to be having a relationship with them purely for this, like, networking kind of situation. And it's just going to be fake, and it's not going to be, like, ingenuine, and that's not what you want. You want to make friends.
And it falls apart later on, is what I found, too.
Yeah,
like,
it often doesn't stay together.
Like, those are the ones that just, like, drop off and do terrible jobs. And you're like, yeah, like, you just wish you'd never met them to begin with. And you find a new contractor.
Bad path to go down. basically that's the main moral of this whole thing is that the more you're treating it like a business, just the worse that it's going to fall apart for you, and it's not the right way to go. And the more you're just trying to be sociable and be a nice person and make connections and be friendly in the world, like the more friends you're going to end up having, and the more friends 10 years later that you never thought were like, had no idea they were going to be useful, all of a sudden like, oh man, you do need this entire house painted, and like good thing you have this friend who's been a painter for 10 years, like really useful stuff. And another great thing to do from kind of the other side of the coin is to set up little tests to make sure that other people are committed on their end too. Because eventually, you don't want them to kind of just flake on you as well. And so just putting up like a tiny little obstacle that they need to get around is a really great way to basically kind of like weed people out who are obviously just going to like fall off the wagon later. Derek Sivers has a blog post where he talks about wanting to learn piano, and he got piano lessons from this crazy, like, real awesome jazz professional guy. And he went to try to approach him to get lessons, and the guy says, okay, great, you want to learn piano? Like, be at my house tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And Derek Sivers is like, okay, great. And he shows up at 7 a.m. the next morning, and this guy just, like, goes, okay, and starts, like, rushing him through all these, like, crazy piano lessons. And apparently that's what he just tells everyone who approaches him about piano lessons. And most people don't show up at 7 in the morning the next day. And immediately he just knows that, like, these are people who are not committed and not people he needs to, like, bother the time, like, pursuing any further. Same with Cake. Like, when people ask us for business advice, we just say, like, oh, yeah, like, come to Cake this Wednesday, and we do all this stuff. And if they show up, it means like they actually are serious about their idea and are like working on it and are trying to pursue it and do something. And if they don't, then there are people who were probably just going to flake on you later down the line anyway. And like, great, you're figuring it out now. So it's really useful to set up just like the tiniest of obstacles. Just a little like call to action when you communicate with them to get back to you on something, and that's going to save you a bunch of time too, which is always really useful. So there you go, nice little whirlwind tour of networking. Just to summarize everything that has kind of gone into this, again, just try to like make friends and be a sociable person and meet people not because you need something from them or because you want to use them for something, but because you want to be their friend. And once you have friends, eventually down the line, it turns out all those friends have really useful talents and are amazing at a bunch of things, and all those things come in useful at points in your life that you would have never predicted. It's really great to make friends by going out to events that you have shared interests in, just by going out to bars and drinking with people, just by asking your friends about their friends. Once you do meet people, try to have a good conversation, ask them questions, ask them specific questions about their job and their life, and delve into it and be interested in what they're saying, and you're going to end up having a great conversation with them. And then once you do actually like have the big little kindling of a friendship going, like make sure to follow up and follow through. And the more you can be on top of just actually getting back to people and really being on the ball, the more people are going to realize that you're committed. And there you go. Perfect. We're going to take a little break right now, and then we're going to come back for some workshop stuff that we probably will not be filming. And other than that, we will see all of you online next week.
Yay.